Hey guys, how's it going? CoderMan here. I've had this car now for about 3 years, and I'm really, overall I really love it. And I've seen a lot of people create, 5 things they hate, 5 things they like. As far as hate, I'm not really sure what I would do that video on. But love, I mean, things that I really love about this car is, first off, I love the driving dynamics. I love the fact that I can throw it on the track, drive it daily like I am now, in the winter. It's been reliable. I haven't had any issues with it. I touched on that in my last video, and I've had other cars, and this is the first car that I can just use in so many different ways. It's easy to drive. As you may or may not know, this is my first manual car. I actually, prior to this, only had, DCT and automatic cars. Always wanted to drive a manual car. I always wanted to have one, and just never found that right car. When I was researching this, I decided that I was going to learn how to drive a manual. I went and bought it, and I quite literally learned how to drive the car on the way home. The second thing that I love about this car is the transmission. Now, I know some people say that, it's sloppy, it's rough, has a hard clutch, all this different stuff. I've since driven a few other manual cars, and I don't know if it's because this is the first car that I drove, so I just became really, in tune with it or whatever, but I find it very easy to drive. The hill start, which is essentially you're getting going and you let your foot off of the brake, put your foot on the clutch. It holds the car for, I believe it's about 1 to 2 seconds, essentially with the brake still engaged, and it gives you time to get going and not roll backwards. Third, for this car, it's a driver's car, but at the same time I like that I can take it on rallies. I can take my family to places and have, no issues. I can throw luggage in the trunk and, back seat. The back seat is kind of like a love-hate. I know a good size adult can fit back there. Kid definitely can fit back there with a car seat. I can throw it into M mode and beat on it, tighten up suspension, whatever, have a hell of a time driving. Or, I can just cruise along on the highway and have no problem. And I find that oftentimes I'm just driving to a client's office or whatever. I don't want to hammer on the car. Whereas I know with some exotics, you start to drive it in, comfort mode, and it has a lot of issues with it. Whether it's like the Lamborghinis with the E-gear, it doesn't like to be in traffic because it learns that shift pattern. And I'm not sure on the DCT. I know some people that have them for the M3, but I don't believe it has that same learning characteristic. So I think overall the M3 is a perfect driver's car. I've taken her on a couple rallies and a couple multi-day rallies. Most recently took it to Virginia and back to Boston. And it's been very comfortable. The next thing that I love about this car is the sound. Whether it be stock or I have an aftermarket exhaust on it now. I have the IP F1 race exhaust with the Valvetronic so that I can shut it down when I want to. I just think that the V8 has a really awesome sound. I've been in the the M3 and the M4, the newest one, and it's a really fast car, but I can't get over the fact that it just does not have that real aggressive sound. I think what I like is stock. It sounds great. It's a little restricted. I think if you're on a budget with an M3, you can do the exhaust mod, which is you basically just take out the baffling that's inside of the muffler itself and you get a lot of good sound. Or you can throw in an aftermarket exhaust. The different gears, you just have a different sound, right? So right now I'm in 5th gear and I'm just cruising along. If I drop it down into 4th gear, that's with the valve closed, and it just has a completely different sound. It's like an angry car, and I love it. Another thing that I really like about the M3, the E92 M3, is the style of it, the design of it, the way that BMW made it. This is actually the first car that I haven't wanted to modify and change up, other than, you know, a couple little things like the exhaust. And I think that says something for the design of it. You know, it's, you know, like I said, it's really well designed. It's really well put together. Like I mentioned, I haven't had any real issues to speak of. It's a great car. It's a great all-around car. I had toyed with the idea of selling it last year. You know, I actually had it up for sale. I had a pretty solid offer, especially for going into the holiday season, and I just couldn't go through with it. You know, it's one of the cars that I just don't want to ever really get rid of. I still might supercharge it later this year. I also really want to get something else. So I'm not, you know, keep this as my daily and get something else. I'm just not 100% sure which direction I'm going to go there. And lastly, one thing that I really like about this car is the M Performance mode. People think when you enable M mode in an M3 that it actually makes the car faster. It does not. What it ends up doing, depending on how you have it set up, is you can have it tighten the suspension, you can have it disable the traction control, you can have it improve the throttle response. And that last one is where people think that the car is faster, because if I have my foot on the gas and I enable M Performance mode, what ends up happening is that the amount of resistance on the pedal is so much less. So however much pressure I was putting it on to go, say, 70 or 80, as soon as I press the M mode, I'm probably going to be doing, you know, 80, 90, and without doing anything. But when it tightens up the suspension, it also tightens up the wheel. I took it on the Thompson racetrack. Late last summer, I took it on Club Motorsports in Tamsworth, New Hampshire, which the track had just been finished but wasn't quite open. I was very fortunate to have opportunity to go up there and to run on the track before there was even any safety features or lines or guardrails or anything. It was wide open. I'll add a link to that video. When I take it on the track, whether it be autocross or racetrack, you can tell that that's what the car was made for. That's something I really like because it gives you a couple different modes. Now, I know modern supercars and even modern, I guess, would this be considered a luxury car or GT luxury car? They have different modes. You know, like if you have like a Lamborghini, it has like the Sport, Corsa, and, you know, race mode. For like the Ferraris, it has everything off, which is just you're driving the car and holding on for dear life, which this has. So there's my version of the things I love about my M3. Like I said, I've seen these videos done before, but I wanted to put my spin on it. I've had the car for about 3 years now, and actually just over 3 years now, and I've had a lot of time with it and just wanted to kind of give my input on the subject. So as always, you like the video, please hit that like button. If you dislike the video, hit the dislike button. Either way, it gives me feedback to know what content is good and what content I shouldn't continue to make, or what didn't quite resonate with the channel. If you're new here, please subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.